Hey everybody, welcome back to the 162nd of Taps and Patience. I'm AJ with Subtract Manufacturing and Audacity Micro, here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity. I think I missed a couple words in that intro, but that's all right. How you doing, Harrison?
Doing good. Hopefully people have listened to enough of those that they know what the intro normally has in
it. I'm actually back in my shop office for once now.
Nice.
With internet, sort of.
Oh, did you get that resolved?
No, sort of.
What sort of mean? Give me a breakdown of what you've done.
Half of the equipment showed up, but not 100% of the equipment. The Ethernet cable that used to run, well, still does run from my house to the shop, definitely went kaput. And finding the source of its kaputtedness would be a whole thing. I don't even know where that cable goes. It certainly goes underneath at least one brick path, possibly underneath a concrete slab, certainly underneath a bunch of gardens. And replacing that Ethernet cable, or I don't think you can just fix one, but it was out of the question. So I bought one of those Wi-Fi bridge kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. It's not actually a Wi-Fi protocol. It's more similar to the mesh router protocol that runs at 6 gigahertz or something crazy high frequency. And maybe it's 5.2 gigahertz. But that is all that showed up, was the hardware for that bridge. And that would be okay-ish if there was a reasonable way for me to get an Ethernet cable to where it needs to be in order to point the two bridges at each other from shop to house. But there's not one, and not a way for it to reasonably get through my house. So I have a mesh Wi-Fi router system. And so right now I have one of my mesh routers, the one that used to be in here, duct taped to the back of that bridge, which is now stuck in the window in my living room with all of the cords and everything's pushed behind a footrest that I pushed against the wall, so it's at least somewhat hidden.
Oh, and that's funny.
Inside the shop, I have the other end of that hot glued to my window, and the Ethernet cord is coming out of that directly into my computer. So I don't have I don't have Wi-Fi in my shop, but I do have internet specifically at my desktop.
Very nice. Very nice.
Which I did not realize how much I counted on Wi-Fi in terms of getting programs to the machine and printing out anything that needs to be printed. I recently got a label printer, and while that doesn't actually use Wi-Fi, it is USB connected. It's connected to a laptop that is over there and not my desktop. My printer over there also uses Wi-Fi, and it's been kind of a major disruption, especially when I have intern in shop and we both need to use a computer that has internet, and there's only one available, which I don't know, is an inconvenience, but not a major problem. So it's all inconvenience and not major problem, but also it's enough inconveniences that it's been inconvenient.
Does that mean you've been running around with the USB everywhere? So
no, it means I don't want to do the machining today. I'll do it later.
Delayed machining.
Yeah. I only have one project lined up at the moment because I've been so busy with teaching. And that is a subtract job that is one part of a much larger job. And I think we gave ourselves 40 days on this project to get it all done. And I'll be able to get my part done in a day. So I'm going to get them done sooner rather than later, just because that's the responsible thing to do. But I'll probably be able to get my parts machined pretty quickly. And so I have plenty of margin. There's procrastinating eats margin pretty fast. So.
Fair enough. Anything else big or major happen? I know you were gone for a little bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so basically I had a week of teaching, and the actual class itself isn't too bad. It's only 8 hours, but of course I have an hour and a half drive to get there, and the drive home can be between like an hour and a half and 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically taking all of my time. But last week, was that last week? Gosh, 2 weeks ago? I don't know. Time is imaginary. At some point, I started the class and I taught it for a full week. And then I taught it for 4 days. And then on the Thursday, I left from class, drove immediately to the airport, got on a plane, flew to Oregon, hung out with Jacob. Well, not as much Jacob because he was the one getting married. I hung out with EJ from Nocturnal Welding and Kyle Kirsch, without a C, from Patreon and Subtract fame. And then Jacob got married. And then I flew home on Monday. We were already we knew we were going to get home late on Monday, but we had some flight delays. We landed at about 2 a.m. We got to a hotel in about 2:45 back here in Indianapolis. The hotel was about 15 minutes from the school. So got to the hotel at 2:45, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up at 6:30 and went back to teaching and taught that class that day. Very tired and consumed much caffeine to get through the day, and then taught through the rest of that week up through Friday, and it's about was dead on Saturday.
Understandable.
So it was a rough week. Most of that class went pretty smoothly. The lathe portion, the lathes were not cooperating. And part of that is I'm just not as good at running lathes as I am mills. Mm-hmm. I can get through the basic, I can do basic lathe setup, but when it comes to programming and programming and figuring out how to approach new parts, I just don't have the experience, which is fine because basically they just needed to learn how to touch off tools and set up and run a program. This isn't a programming class, so I don't have to be that good at it. I could tell that I was definitely, because I was less good at it and because I was tired, I was not doing a good job teaching it. And I could see that in the students' eyes. But we got through that. And now I just have 2 days left in this class, and we're knocking out some personal projects.
Good deal. What type of personal projects? Anything cool, exciting, and fun?
We're doing some Ninja Star fidget spinners. There's a whole group of people that wanted those. There's 5 of them, and we've done 3 op ones at this point, and they're turning out pretty cool.
That's awesome.
We made a bunch of coasters. Coasters are always a popular go-to, I think, because they're easy. We're making. I showed somebody your Deck Defender, and we are making a Deck Defender knockoff.
Nice. Did you get one? Oh yeah, you did get one of those.
I do. I use it for my SD cards.
Nice.
That has traveled with me across the country a couple times, storing my SD cards with my camera.
Yeah, I think that was before we were podcasting.
Very possibly.
Yeah, because I think that's how we got that connection, was because it was the very first and only Kickstarter I've ever done, and I kept asking you a lot of questions on how you had done it in the past.
That makes sense.
So, yep.
Overall, I think this class went smoother than this is the 3rd time that I've done this exact same class. Mm-hmm. It's for Caterpillar, the big digger peoples. And I've taught it a couple times, but this time I was able to use my new custom ERP to spit out travelers and setup sheets. And just having that more organized than I've had it in the past, I think made it go a lot more smoothly. And also I got rid of the first project that we did. Well, I kind of transformed the first project that we did, and which used to be making some dice. But the way I had the dice set up, it was kind of deliberately obtuse, where there was 8 different operations, because there was make a cube in 2 different operations and then engrave each side as its own individual operation. And the original goal of that was for the Department of Corrections kids to teach, like, just to get them a ton of repetition on probing. And I've learned that the Caterpillar class doesn't need that same repetition. So this time we went straight into it with what I call the pop cube, which is basically just a cube that has a half-inch blind hole on one side, and everything on it is super tight tolerance. And it's called a pop cube because you can take the back end of a half-inch end mill and go pop.
Gotcha.
But there's a couple sub-thou tolerances on there that are not super easy to hit, and it really teaches you to kind of dial things in and slowly sneak up on dimensions. And it's way more difficult than like just the dice. But I think doing that first really helped. I don't know. Like, if you focus on the easy stuff, like people get bogged down by the easy stuff. Sometimes if you focus on the hard stuff, they just blow by the easy stuff, and like then they have to focus on the hard stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that's good teaching theory, but
distract them with the harder problems so they solve all the easier ones.
Yeah, exactly. The easy problems don't seem very difficult compared to the hard problems. But I don't know. This group always is interesting with the wide variety of skills that they have coming in. Like, there's some people that, I mean, they probably learned some tidbits here and there, but they like already knew this stuff. And then there were some people that they were basically learning everything from the ground up. Yeah. And which is weird because they've all been through the same training. So it sounds like they used to do, they are doing a lot of the stuff before me through Ivy Tech. And It sounds like the machining program in Ivy Tech in this area is slowly being cut down to the point of non-existence. And they don't seem to do much, if any, hands-on anything. So it's all like e-learning. So they're sitting there on their computer, plugging away at speeds and feeds or whatever on Blackboard or whatever they use. And there's a couple students I think they can pick stuff up from that, but there's also a lot that can't.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yep. But other than that, because I have been in class so much, a lot of what I have been doing is really all been around subtract. And I've been doing a ton of vibe coding, because vibe coding is a great thing that you can do while also like helping students with projects. Basically, I just leave my computer around and I'll like do a circle around the classroom and then come back to my computer and type some prompts and then go back around and type some prompts. So I've made some progress there.
That's cool.
Subtract has been doing pretty well. I think we've got about 40K in open POs right now.
Nice.
Which it's definitely been higher in the past, but it's also been a lot lower. So that's pretty good. 3,000 of which Audacity Micro is taking.
Woohoo!
A bunch of those parts are going to kind of our same, like our biggest customer, which are some kind of high complexity aluminum parts that are getting used in a bespoke metrology thingy. I can't go into details there. And honestly, I don't really know what it's being used for, but it's like this company is making their own metrology tool for their own maintenance of their own stuff. And there's a lot of very funky geometry on it. Like it's all like kind of blocks with holes, but all the holes, and there's a lot of like planes at weird angles and miscellaneous assorted tight tolerances. And except for the ones I'm making, which are just blocks with holes. And then we also have a couple parts in that are like tool and die parts, basically. So one of them that EJ at Nocturnal Welding is working on is some like mold insert, I believe for like magazines or something.
Gotcha.
AR magazines. And we have a couple other random ones. I don't remember what they are right now, but basically I've just been kind of managing subtract orders and vibe coding AMRP when I get free time. It's just about ready where I can release the kind of core functions that I want our shops to have the option of using. The big one being material tracking. like tracking material certifications. It is in our QMS that we require material certifications on any order over a given dollar amount.
Yeah.
But we also have a note in there that is an upcoming change and not something we're requiring right now, because we haven't given shops a tool to track their material certifications. So once we publish that, we're going to switch that on.
Gotcha. Yeah, material certifications is something me and Weston have been talking a lot about just in our own shop because of the AS9100.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of material that isn't tracked. And, well, I say a lot. I'd say it's getting smaller all the time. It's probably closer to 30% of the material that we still have isn't on the AS9100 side, but it's getting smaller, and we've been able to use up a lot of it here recently, which has been nice. So, but we still have a decent amount we need to slowly burn through on customers that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's one of those nice things for just like liability. Like if you send a part to a customer, it goes on a ladder or something and the ladder breaks, they can't come back to you and be like, hey, you use materials too cheap. Like, no, I have records. I didn't substitute it for something that I shouldn't have used. Like, here's the whole paper trail on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, and for us, once we have a history on it, once it's in the system, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, exactly. Once it's in the system, it's not hard to track.
No.
So I have AMRP set up where I can with a label printer now, where I can just print out a label that I can slap on the material.
Yeah, which ProShop has just done a big update where they're adding in a lot of barcode scanning capabilities.
Nice.
And so we bought a barcode scanner that we're going to try to start using for both material tracking and tracking jobs through the shop.
Does it have anything human readable on the barcodes, or is it just a barcode?
It's a barcode, and then it's got human readable text next to it. So like they have they're implementing a whole program where you can build and put whatever information you want, and it'll pull from different fields, and you can make barcode templates. And so like you could have one for materials, you could have one for job trackers. Like they're doing a whole thing. The only problem is right now is if you try to use it and create a barcode, specifically a QR code, it'll take you to the Google page of what is a QR code, because it's not working. So like you go to scan it and it's like, this is what a QR code is, and it's like this is not working. So, but once it is, it'll be really nice. So
yeah. My labels have the material on it, so just 6061 aluminum, and then it has like my code name for it, because again, all of mine doesn't have like serial numbers. It has these like serial names, so it'll be like Big Blue Elephant, and then it has a QR code so you can find it.
Which brings up an interesting point. The label printers, are you using the thermal label printers?
Yes. With the vinyl labels is the key for that.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, is that we've had the paper ones and they do not hold up well to coolant and liquids. So we've just recently started switching over to a different style that can handle getting wet without distorting or causing problems.
Is it the vinyl labels that you're using?
I don't know if it's vinyl. It just says weatherproof on the listing. So I don't know if they're vinyl or if they just have a coating on them.
Try to tear it next time. Can you tear it?
I've never tried. We just got them in. We just started using them last week or this week. So.
I heard Uriel Eisen talk about these, Articard guy, talk about these labels. And I thought I bought them originally, and I bought ones that were just labeled as like waterproof shipping labels, and I thought I was getting the vinyl ones, but they are not. Okay. I'm sure they're maybe more resilient than the normal shipping labels, but then I got the vinyl shipping labels, and those ones you can't tear.
Okay.
And I think those are going to hold up much better than the paper ones.
I'll have to look. I don't think they're vinyl. I think they're some sort of a weatherproofed.
Jacob, I'm going to give you the link, and you can put that in the description below and give it to Harrison.
Yes, please. So,
Yeah. I have 4x6 labels, which is shipping label size. And then I have 3x5, which I've been using for basically everything else. My Kanban cards are set up to print on 3x5, and it just prints off 2 labels, and I stick them together, or excuse me, I stick them to an index card, kind of sandwiching it. So there's both a front and a back.
Nice.
And that's been my method. And then I've been slowly starting to shift to, that's a strong word. I've been slowly starting to get ready to shifting to Kanban for all of my inventory. I've got maybe 2 or 3 dozen of the cards made up, but I was too lazy to move the PDFs on a thumb drive over to that laptop over there that's connected to the label printer to print them. So I'll need Wi-Fi to do that.
Nice.
But I also, in AMRP, I added a tool that will take my Fusion library and turn that into Kanban cards for all of my tools. I made a tool where you can just give it a list of URLs and it'll make Kanban cards for those. And it uses ChatGPT to grab all the information from the website. So basically all you do is assign minimums and maximum values and any other special notes.
That's awesome.
And if it can't find a picture on the web page, it will AI generate its own.
That is pretty cool. That is cool.
So it definitely makes the Kanban implementation much easier. Like I just added the whey oil for the Tormach, and it was literally just copy paste in my URL, hit enter, and it takes, I don't know, like 10 seconds, but then it just filled out all the information and it was right the first time.
Yeah. I really want to, and I know I keep saying this, but I want to start playing around more with vibe coding. So one thing that happened for us this week is we had our power upgraded to 400 amps. And for that entire day, we were unable to run any of the machines. And so my employee, Ben, we had a generator there plugged in just so we could have the computers turned on. And he spent most of the day working on the computer, and he was doing some vibe coding stuff. And it was pretty cool what he was able to do just with that. So one of the big things that he did is I've always kind of wondered which tools we use the most. Like I have an idea of what standard tools we are, but he basically was able to vibe code something where it could look at all the most recent Fusion files that you have done, open them up, and make a count of how many times the tool is called.
Nice.
And then print out a CSV list of all the tools ranked by uses, so we can kind of track that a little bit better.
That's awesome.
And I was like, and he basically did it like in 10 minutes with AI. Yeah. And I was just like, that is ridiculous. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Another thing I've been working on is I don't know what to call it. Project management software is maybe the right word for the YouTube channel. Because and actually it probably won't be the Audacity Micro YouTube channel. It'll probably be the Subtract YouTube channel. But we really need to get YouTube content rolling more, because that is by far the best advertising that we have ever done with Subtract. Like we've tried a few other things, but when we publish YouTube videos, we get RFQs from Subtract. Nice. And I haven't published a video in like 3 months. And so I am meeting with our guy who handles social media, Pablo, this week. And I kind of want to set him up into more of like a producer role. And then I'm trying to find a couple of people who can write videos and someone else who can edit a video. And I'm hoping to be able to do some more videos in the style of like that machine thinking guy, if you're familiar with him.
Yep.
I used a lot of his videos in a couple of like the metrology classes that I did.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, but he hasn't been making videos recently.
No, he hasn't made videos in a while, but I always seem to find a reason to want to watch one of his videos about once every 6 months to a year.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a bunch of great videos. But like videos kind of in that style where someone will write it, I'll record a voiceover, we'll have, B-roll that either we've shot ourselves or that, that we've got from broll.com or wherever you get B-roll from, and edit those together. And that can go on the subtract channel. Audacity would still be the same, but that's the theory.
Good
kind of
deal.
turn that into a real system instead of just AJ makes videos occasionally. That's pretty much everything that's been going on for me. What's going on in Harrison Land?
I think we hit a new record this week. Of most parts on order at one time.
Nice.
And
most backlog.
Most backlog. And
that is both a good and a not a good record.
Well, it depends on how long that backlog goes out. So if it's due next week, yeah, we're screwed. But thankfully, this backlog goes to September. I think it's the furthest one out. September, October, somewhere in there. But we're over 20,000 parts now.
Nice.
On order. So that's pretty cool.
I've got 15 parts on order. And I'm like, oh man, this is a lot.
Yeah, we've been pumping out a lot of parts here recently, and it feels good to have the machines running at a pretty good clip now. And so it was getting a little stressful at times with how slow things had been for the last few months. So it feels good. It feels like we're kind of getting out of our own way. So, and I've gotten to do some really cool parts. In fact, one of our podcast listeners actually reached out to us to make some parts because of our dual spindle lathe. And that was a ton of fun. So did a nice short run for them. That might do some more in the future, but it was a really cool small part. And it was really nice because I feel like everything we've done on the dual spindle lathe has been like extremely tight tolerance and extremely hard materials where I haven't been able to actually walk away from the thing.
Yeah.
And so this was just like a 1144 steel material. And so I was able to set it up, get it running, and then I'd come by every half hour to an hour and check on it. And the parts were holding really tight. And like, I didn't have to adjust the wear as much or babysit them as much as I do with the harder stuff. So it's like, I want more of that stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure I've ever cut 1144 steel before. So it's relatively high carbon. What's the alloying with it?
I don't remember, but I like it so much more than 1018. It machined really well. I was really happy. So
1144 steel is ideal for high production parts.
It's a little more expensive than 1018, but just from how well it machined, it's well worth it. So
high sulfur. It sounds like sulfurized and phosphorized carbon steel.
So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I wanted to run a lot more because it was a part that like I was able to set up. There's a couple challenges with it just because it was almost a Swiss style part because of the length to diameter stick out. And I had to machine it in 3 sections where the material acted as the support. And the blend lines were basically, you couldn't tell where it was blended.
Nice.
And so it blended, like I tried some things to try to make sure there was no visible blend lines, and there wasn't that I could see. And so I was so happy with how they turned out. So nice. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And then other than that, we've been using the Cobot a lot more on job shop work because we haven't had the orders for the production work. But we did get some this week, which is what kind of pushed our backlog. So I'm excited that we finally got some large orders and we can start running that robot round the clock again. I always feel better when it's running because it provides a healthy baseline for the company.
Yeah.
So
just money printer at this point.
Yeah, it's nice when it can get it set up and just keep it running, because having those magwells all last year really provided a good cushion, and them not doing the quantities this year that they did last year has really put the hurt on us this year. Because it provided just a really nice, stable baseline that we could count on. So that's where production work can be both a blessing and a curse. If it goes away, it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you have one customer, then you're at the whims of one customer. If you have 100 customers, then they'll kind of average out over time.
Yeah, and we have been very blessed in the sense that we do have multiple customers in multiple industries, and it's funny because when the Magwell customer went down, we had another customer that went up, and we've been able to. We haven't grown as fast as we wanted to this year, but we've been able to match what we did last year. So, which is kind of the minimum that we wanted to reach, and that's because this other customer kind of picked up all the slack. So, I've been happy with that. So,
speaking of things we're happy with, we have Patreons.
Woohoo!
So Jacob is on honeymoon, and so we don't have show notes. So we're going to use last week's show notes. If you joined the Patreon in the last week, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have your name on here. And Jacob will put it in the notes, and we'll thank you twice next week. Our Patreons include, but are not limited to, CJ at CS Machine and Fabrication, Mike at G28 Machining, our sponsor, Brian at Headco, Ben at Black Fox, Matt at Modern Fuel, Russell M, Joseph E. Matt at Modern Fuel, in fact, does not have anything to do with race cars or fuel. He makes pens. Russell M, Joseph E, Brian B, Jacob S, Chris at CDS Plastics, John S, Alex H, Avery M, Chris B at Puda Creek Precision. Jacob kept telling me it was not pronounced Puda, but Chris says he pronounces it Puda. Josh at Leighton Machine, Millen Y, Devin C, Christian O, Stephen M, Horse Pulverizer Incorporated, Daniel R, James at Moultrie-Made, Ryan at Strata Manufacturing, Kyle at Kirsch Machine, who I have now met in person, Devin at Sinister Machine Works, Greg at Frogtown Manufacturing, James N, Ben at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S, Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zone and Precision, happy honeymoon, and congratulations on your marriage. Jason S, Joshua H, Christian Z, Leland B, Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z, 2Z Systems, Trey V, Alexander B, Scott Design the Everything, Jamie at Nocturnal Welding, Chris at Zyke Precision, EJ. Did I say Jamie at Nocturnal Welding?
You did.
Huh. EJ at Nocturnal Welding and Jamie at Nautical, spelled wrong, Work Holding. Chris at Thought Bob Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson. Now, all of our Patreons at any paid tier get access to our Discord, which even with like me, Jacob, and Josh being gone, has still been super active and is a fantastic community. All Patreon members, including the free tier, get access to our weekly Q&A, which Jacob did not do this week because he was on honeymoon. And so we aren't going to do this week. And then we do want to thank especially G28 Machining. They are a precision job shop focused on solving tough problems. If they are our top sponsor at our sponsorship tier, or no, they're top Patreon at our sponsorship tier. So if you need machining, definitely go and check them out. They do FFL and all that stuff too. Don't forget IMTS meetup Tuesday, 2 p.m. at the Tormach booth. Did we decide 2 p.m.? That's in the notes now.
It's in the notes. I don't.
Did Jacob just decide it?
I don't know if Jacob decided. I assumed that someone talked to Tormach and scheduled that, and I was assuming it was you or Jacob.
Talked to Tormach.
Okay.
Unless Jacob talked to Norman.
Which I was listening to the Lone Machinist podcast, and I saw that like our three Jacobs has started to make it over to theirs.
Which reminds me, I have another domain to buy. Speaking of domains, so if you would like to sub to the Taps and Patience YouTube channel, which please do, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can start monetizing that channel. You can do that at nauticalwh.com. If you'd like to join the Patreon, you can find that at nauticalwh.com. And if you would like to see the Barnacle mini dovetail vise, which is super cool, you can do that at nauticalwh.com. Choose your own spelling. You'll get lucky and find one of them.
But yeah, which I did look at that Barnacle. It is pretty cool. And I love the name of that.
Yeah, it's like that was apparently a Justin Gray name.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And it can't be more perfect. I'm trying to go to nauticalworkholding.com to go see the Barnacle, but I don't know how to spell
it. keep landing on our pages.
I just ended up at our Patreon. Oh gosh. Nope, it wasn't that one. That one wasn't even one that I own. Apparently, if you Google it, it'll work. Not. Oh my gosh, I'm back at our Patreon again. There we go.
I have to go to the show notes to see how to spell this.
Does he have the little dovetail vice on his website yet?
He has it on Instagram.
I don't think he must not be selling it yet. That little dovetail vice is a very tempting way of tooling up Mongo.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Just because it, I think, will be a lot cheaper than any other option. Oh, Mongo has still been slowly making incremental progress, like 4 hours a week. He now has a functioning auto door, and we made some improvements after the first revision of the auto door. He's on a stand. That's been a couple weeks. He now has some shelves for the pallets to sit on. We've made a couple revisions on his little gripper, and we had to change material of it. We were trying to use that like super hard TPU, but the super hard TPU was still too floppy and it was too flexy. But we have shelves. Right now, we need to print a whole bunch of little receptacles for the Aroa thingies. And I'm waiting on some like little inductive sensors to come in for determining if Mongo has a pallet on the end of his little fork. But we're pretty close to like at least being able to do a full test. We need to build out the electrical cabinet. That still is pieces on my workbench. I have a bank of solenoids that's like 9 solenoids or something in one little bank. So there's plenty of IO there. And I have all kinds of buttons and warning lights and e-stop and relays and DIN rail and just like all the bits and pieces to build a pretty good little interface box that'll connect the robot and the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Question. So Mongo himself will control, not even necessarily. Mongo himself doesn't need any direct pneumatic control of anything. But there is the auto door and there is the release of like the action on the Aroa system. Would you control that from the mill or from the robot or potentially from the third-party system? But I don't think that's going to be the answer.
So you will need to have the vices controlled by the robot pretty much no matter what, in my opinion. The auto door, I could go either way on that because you could have it, if you could hit cycle start and have it open and close potentially, depending on that. But the vices, because you have to coordinate that motion with the robot going in and out of the machine, I would have the robot control those vices as well. Because you need to, go over top of it, tell the vice to open, go down. And if you're doing that by hitting cycle start and stop, there's a potential chance that if something gets off, you could accidentally start the machine with the robot arm in there.
The integration will be deeper than just hitting cycle start.
Yeah, but it would still be better to, I think, control it via robot. That's how our vices work, is they're robot controlled. They are integrated into the controller, but so the robot is telling the robot's basically acting like a foot pedal switch.
Okay.
On our system, it's triggering the foot pedal switch on the UMC, basically, more or less.
You could set up some like pneumatic logic, basically, where you could have and where the robot and the machine have to agree.
You could set it up. I wouldn't set it up as an and. I would set it up as an or. Either one could actuate it, but you have to make sure that before the machine can run, at least this is how it's set up on Haas, you have to make sure that everything is clamped. Otherwise, it'll throw an error. So if you try to cycle start and the machine detects that the air vice is not closed, then or the 0 point system is not locked, then it'll throw an error.
So maybe that's the way, is have the robot control the air. So the robot has the solenoid, but then there's a pressure switch that goes to the Tormach.
Yeah, that basically says if they're basically you need to make sure that if it is not energized or de-energized depending on the way it functions, whatever state it needs to be in, if it's not in that state when it tries to run the program, it throws an error. Same with the door, the side door. But like the auto doors on the Haas machine, there is a way you can have it to where the window, when you hit cycle start, closes automatically and opens automatically at cycle start and cycle complete.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the idea of having the machine in charge of the go, no go decision, and then the robot in charge of
controlling it.
Now, I was thinking, and I do think I'm going to put as an OR gate, basically a T in this case, the new the manual release switch. So you'll still be able to manually remove the pallets.
Yeah.
But that actually even helps because if the Tormach detects that it's unclamped, it won't cycle start. It won't run.
So with the VersaBuilt, what they do is they send us a valve pack, and it's a 3-position air toggle switch where you have auto or robot controlled, off and on. And so you can set it to air supply on, air supply off, or robot controlled.
Yeah. I was just going to put them in parallel. Like basically you have your manual valve and you have a solenoid valve, you have a T on either end. And if one or both is open, then you have pressure. If they're both off, then you don't have pressure.
Yeah. So, but there's lots of different ways you can set it up. VersaBuilt has their way of doing it, and I like it. It's pretty simple. It allows you to break things into smaller pieces as needed, and allows you to, if you were to do a pallet loaded version of it, you could do, as long as the program's on the controller, you can go in any order, basically.
Yeah. Which the way I'm planning on doing that is there will basically be third party, who we're calling Mordecai, will be the scheduling application. Yeah. So that'll choose what order to run the pallets on and, which program goes with which pallet.
Yeah.
And then it's basically just providing a queue, and the Tormach's going to finish its order and go, okay, or finish its program and go, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah. Yeah. But the way the VersaBuilt is you have your main program, and then you have a sub program called washdown, and then another sub program for move vices to load location. And basically it calls them in whatever order it needs to. So it'll run the program, and then it has a generic washdown program that it'll call, and then it has a generic load vices program that puts the machine in a state where it's able to be loaded and unloaded.
Yeah, which I'll probably have to have that too, because like the row of pallets going to need to be in the same place every time.
Yeah. So, and are you going to have a chip fan?
Probably should.
Yeah. So the way my VersaBuilt system, you have 3-spindle coolant, right?
Nope.
Oh, you don't? Oh, yeah.
Nope.
That's right. You don't. Your machine is capable of it. We've talked about it, but you don't actually have it.
Yeah.
The nice thing about the way mine is done is we use through-spindle coolant, and we spray down the parts, and then we go back with the fan afterwards, because the through-spindle coolant does a better job of getting the chips off. And then we use the chip fan to blow the coolant away.
Do you have that going through just like a tool that's always in there?
Through
the
fan.
Have it in like a straw? Oh, through the fan. Okay.
So the fan's got 3-spindle coolant, and we just run it at a low RPM to where it's not blowing. And so it's running at like 1,000 RPM or something like that. Something where the blades aren't going out, but it's just to spray everything down. And then we turn the 3-spindle coolant off, and then we turn the fan up, and then we blow it off the rest of the way.
I mean, I could probably do the poor man's version of that where I have coolant, I have flood coolant, and then I have an air blast
Yeah.
and just flood coolant it and then air blast it.
Yeah. You could even flood coolant it and then potentially use the fan as well. And I don't know if you could use those in combination to
I feel like you'd end up with a very misty enclosure
potentially.
Because the flood coolant is by definition behind the fan.
Yeah.
Because it'll always be behind the tool.
That's true. If it was like the Speedio style where you have your flood coolants off to the side where it's kind of coming underneath everything, you could potentially do that, but maybe not with your setup.
Now, my Aroa system has a self blow off, which, and just because it's not a vise, like there's less surface area where there could be chips that are problematic. Not that chips won't be the number one cause of headaches with this, but
it will be 100%.
It's a little bit easier, I think, than a vise. Maybe I'm wrong, but
think about it this way. You have to be able to have the machine walk or run and get all the chips off without any human intervention for extended periods of time. So it doesn't matter where a chip gets stuck. If it gets stuck, it's going to stay stuck and it's going to collect friends.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I've learned is that if even one chip gets stuck somewhere, it will find friends and then it'll become a pile. And then it'll become a problem.
So with my system, would you do like wash down, then exchange vice? Or would you remove vice?
Wash down first.
And then wash down and then put the new one in or something?
So you want to do wash down first because at that point, your interface is locked. There's no chips there. You want to blow everything away while it's protected. And then when you do your exchange, there's less likelihood of chips falling down and getting into places they shouldn't be if you've cleaned it while you have a protective interface over top of your critical connections. At least that's what I've seen thus far. You could do a second wash down, but you definitely want to do it first or you remove it because the odds of you blowing something into an area that you can't get it out of are much higher if you don't do it when you pull it out initially and try to wash down with it exposed, with your base exposed.
I wonder, so I was going to put in an air knife to clean the part, or to clean the vise on its way out. I wonder if there's a risk of that blowing a chip onto the top of the little, Aroa base.
Are you bringing one vise in? Are you going to be able to hold two at a time or just one at a time?
Right now, the current plan is just one at a time.
Okay. If you were to do something like that, I would have a bucket outside the machine that you use to clean it.
Like just dip the whole vise in some coolant.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do with the Versa. Is they just have a tank, and you just dip it in the tank, and then they have a pump that also that is controlled by the robot that splashes coolant, or not coolant, just clean water to wash the chips and stuff off of it. But you could do that idea, and if you wanted, you could do air. If you wanted to do an air knife, if you did it outside the machine and you turn to like a area where you're okay with blowing that knife into something to blow chips and coolant off. But I would definitely wouldn't do that inside the machine with the 0 point exposed.
Yeah.
I would treat the 0 point system like you would using air without a tool holder and the spindle.
Yeah. The Aroa is quite a bit more exposed than something like a Lang 0 point, though. For better or worse. It's got just those 4 little contact feet.
Don't they have like a rubber gasket thing you can get to kind of go around them to try to help with that?
I've seen that on the larger systems. I would definitely have to have some sort of little adapter for my import vices. I mean, it's very possible that it's doable. Like 3D print it out a TPU and just have a little hula skirt.
Yeah, that's what I would try to do.
That might be worth it.
I would try to protect that and keep chips from getting in there. as much as possible. And if you had a protective skirt, it would be less risky. I feel like it'd be easier to get the chips away and then maybe less risky to blow off in the machine afterwards, potentially.
Yeah, as long as the hula skirt doesn't cause more problems than it solves.
Yeah, which I can't answer that without looking at the system. But I do know once you get a taste of automation, it's kind of like 5-axis. It's hard to go back. So, like once you get a taste of it, you want everything to be automated, and that's something that I've been thinking more and more about. Is like trying to set up our jobs in a way where they need less and less human interaction. So, but yeah.
Well, speaking of human interaction, are we about ready to wrap up today?
I think so. We did get our power connected on Friday, so we do have 400 amps now, and that's the biggest thing that's happened recently. So,
I have power news too. It's not a change, but it's something that I confirmed. So, this shop has a 200 amp panel. Our house has a 200 amp panel, but we were never really sure if those were separate or not. And they are. So I have a separate 200. Like the shop has legitimately 200 amps and the house has legitimately 200 amps. It's not like if the house is using 100 amps, the shop only has 100 amps.
Are they both single phase?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely don't have 3-phase.
Yeah.
I did measure, and the closest 3-phase is around 3,000 feet away.
That's not horrible, but that's still going to be expensive as crap.
Yeah. It'll be more expensive than my shop edition if I ever do my shop edition.
Speaking of shop updates, do you still have an OM?
The OM is still sitting in the corner.
Fair enough. I was wondering if you had gotten rid of it yet. Are you planning
it's still
on
there. I've been gone.
Huh?
I said I've been gone.
That's true. Are you wanting to get another machine anytime soon? Or no?
I do not feel the need to get another machine anytime soon.
Fair enough.
So it might happen. It might be something with more than 3 axes. It might be a direct clone of the Tormach, set up to, with Mongo in the middle. The one thing that it could happen sooner is what I'm going to call the trial Swiss. So there's a few Swiss machines on the market that are dirt cheap. They're probably basically trash, but they're running right now. And I would kind of like to get one of those and play with it and see if that would fit into Audacity Micro or not. And then if it works, sell it off for as much as I bought it for and get a nicer one.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, honestly, that 1,500 does more than what I need. I think I could easily make $200,000 a year with just the 1,500, probably more, like profit, not just revenue. And I don't need more than that. So 5 axis would be nice, but at this point, all of my growth energy is going into Subtract. It's not going into Audacity. There's a lot of streamlining and efficiency that's going into Audacity. Mm-hmm. But, if you gave me $200,000 right now, like I could go buy a CM with a 5 axis or one of the small UMCs, but I would probably put it in Subtract.
Mm-hmm.
So
fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. All right. I think that's all I got.
This time I hit the button.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us for this shorter episode of Taps of Patience.
Only an hour.
Only an hour. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend. Really subscribe to that YouTube channel more than anything else. We'd appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good Memorial weekend.
One of a kind.
Did it play the music?
It did not play.
Hey, Jamie beat me to JamieJamie.com. I'm tempted to get JacobJacobJacob.com.
You probably should.
Okay, bye.